welcome to today's episode of the Squad Podcast. It's your girl, your coach, Coach Tocha Moore, and I am so grateful that you guys are here with me today. Y'all, before we get into it, y'all click the subscribe button. I think it's below, above, wherever it is. If you're streaming from your favorite podcast, wherever you stream your podcast from, please make sure that you subscribe. I want you guys to be in the know. We have some great upcoming things. A 2-day conference coming in Myrtle Beach. We are traveling, hopefully, to a city near you. Y'all, we are combat ready, and we are fighting for the best versions of ourselves. So I want you guys to know what's going on. Also, do me a favor, head on over to the website, tochamoore.com, and click the pop-up box so that you can get on our email list. And that way you get a monthly newsletter from me, and you also get invitations to special events that I'll be having. And we're also going to be offering a VIP squad type of thing. So y'all just please do whatever you need to do so that you'll be in the know of everything that's going on with the squad and combat ready. Y'all, it's the last week in February. Isn't it crazy? Y'all, it has flown by. I'm so thankful that you guys have been riding with me this whole entire time. This whole month we've been talking about love. And today will be not our last episode on love, but we're definitely wrapping up February, which has been our loving on ourselves, learning how God loves us, then learning how to love in relationships. And today we're going to be talking about learning to build a love that lasts in a relationship. I know we were supposed to have a panel, right? But life happened, so we were not able to do that today, but we are going to do it another day. So there will be another episode with some of my most favorite people in my life. So we weren't able to do it today because y'all know that happens, but y'all like riding with me, I hope, right? So I'm here with y'all today, and I'm excited for this episode. Y'all, today we're going to be talking about building relationships that last, because we know building relationships that last is the goal, right? Whether it's your friendship, marriage, relationship, any kind of ship that you have, I would pray that the goal of it all is for you to build a relationship that lasts. And so on today's episode, we're going to be getting into what that looks like, right? How do you form a relationship that lasts the test of time? And so when I think about it, it's so important for me to know that I have people that have my back because I have theirs. And so to end this series, we talked about God's love, self-love, and today we're going to be talking about love that lasts. And so the kind of love that goes beyond romance and it enters into every relationship of your life, right? And so building a relationship that stands the test of time, whether it's your marriage, your friendship, with your family, your work relationships, it truly becomes something very special when you're able to build a relationship and understand what it means to do the work to help it last, right? And so I think the most important thing for us to remember about relationships and sustaining them is that they change, right? Relationships are not the same. Who I was years ago is not who I am now. And so I think it's important to always keep that in the back of our mind, that relationships are going to change, and there's nothing wrong with that it's okay, right? So before we dive into the episode, do me a favor, take a second and send this to somebody really quick. Go ahead and send it to a sister who you know needs to hear this today, how important it is, and some of the things you need to do to build a relationship that lasts, all right? Y'all, relationships are such a powerful thing in our life. And when we understand that they shape us, they stretch us, they mold us, they make us who we are, truthfully, we can understand what it means to put in the work in a relationship so that we get from where we are to where we want it to be. All right. And we're going to talk about what makes the difference in a relationship that lasts versus one that doesn't. And so what separates them, for me, I believe, is that you learn that relationships that are built to last are built on 4 key things in my book, right? Trust, communication, grace, and purpose. All right. So we're going to get into that. Y'all, let's go. Relationships are such a powerful part of our lives. They mold us, they shape us, they stretch us, and all the things. And honestly, they tend to show us who we really are. And so, not all relationships are built to last. And we've got to learn to be okay with that. Because I feel like sometimes we hold on to things when it's time for us to let it go. How do we know the difference though? We're going to talk about that in a little bit too. So what makes the difference between a relationship that lasts and one that doesn't? So for me, I feel like relationships that last are built on 4 things, and we're going to talk about that. Trust. Got to trust them. Communication. A whole lot of grace. And a purpose. Y'all know I'm big on purpose. And so let's dive into those. Trust. If you can't trust someone, how are you going to be in a relationship with them? Right? People, I've had questions asked to me many times, like, how do I know that I'm still supposed to be with this person? How do I know that this person is someone that's for me? And one of the first things you have to ask yourself is, do you trust them? Like, if you told them something, would you hear it back? Or if you needed them for whatever reason, would they be there for you? Have you developed that not communication? Have you developed a relationship that you can say, I trust this person? Right? That's the first thing. So after trust is communication, y'all, you have to be able to communicate with each other. You gotta be able to talk things out. The truth is, we are not mind readers. I know I'm not. And I would assume you aren't either. And so if we don't come to a place and space where we're communicating with each other, how are we going to build a relationship that lasts, right? I say all the time, it's if you don't talk or speak or communicate in some way, what are you really doing, right? Grace. Relationships that last require a whole lot of grace. Do you hear me? A whole lot of grace. You got to be able to forgive the person because none of us are perfect. We're all going to do things that are outside of what someone might like. And so we have to learn to give that person grace. It's something that we may not feel like they deserve, because that's what grace is, what God gives to us. And thinking about, okay, maybe I don't feel like they deserve this, but I'm going to give it to them anyway, because I care about them. And then the 4th thing is purpose. Every relationship serves a purpose in your life. It may be for a long time. It may be for a short time. But it's learning that as long as a relationship is serving you and making you better, making you grow, making you stretch, we talked about that already. You know, that's part of building a relationship that lasts. If it's not, then it might be time to let it go. Right? If it's not growing you, shaping you, making you better, it's taking up space in your life where you could have something else in that space. Y'all with me on today? So here's the thing, and this is where it gets real, y'all. Relationships. Lord, I forgot what I was about to say. Oh. So here's the thing. I want y'all to realize and understand. Relationships go through seasons of change, y'all. Things are going to change, and it does not necessarily mean that it's not a relationship you're supposed to have anymore, but understand the evolution of a relationship. And so we're going to talk about that next, what it looks like when you're asking yourself, is this something I should let go of or not? Relationships change. Okay, so let me ask you a question. Have you ever had a friendship, partnership, whatever kind of ship you want to call it, that started off strong, you were running the race, and then things fizzled out, and it got a little bit slower and a little bit harder, or whatever the case may be? The truth is, that is part of a relationship. I say this all the time. People change. People change. And so when you think about building a relationship that last, you have to ask yourself, what happened? Y'all, we grow. We evolve. We change. We become different. And when we don't put in the work in the relationship, it continues to grow, and sometimes it grows in a way that flourishes, and sometimes it grows in a way that grows apart. And so we have to understand that we have to learn to grow with people instead of apart from people. So my husband and I have been married for, it's not our anniversary yet. This is 2025. This will be.
You've been married for 22 years to Mike Moore. Want to?
Shut up. Okay. Y'all, I have been married for 22 years. Thank you so much, whatever that was. My husband and I have been married for 22 years. All right. And it means that you have to learn to grow and love a different person. I am not the same woman that I was 26 years ago, and he's not the same man. And so when you think about building relationships that last, it's about learning to love someone new. And people are like, what? So often we hold on to, like, when you first are in a relationship, you're all in the bliss, and when you get married, and it's all the bliss of marriage and all the things, and then life starts lifing. You don't have the dress on anymore. He's not in a tux or a suit anymore. And then you have to learn to do life together, right? As husband and wife. And so as you grow and change and evolve, your significant other is required to love, change, and evolve with you. Not necessarily them, but learning to love and grow and change the way that they love you. Because you're becoming a different person. When I became a mom, I was a mom too, and a wife. So was I the same wife? No, because before kids, you could devote all your time to your significant other. And now you have kids, and it's like, okay, wait a minute. I got to deal with these children, right? And then we'll see where we are in the day with time for the significant other, right? And vice versa with my husband. We had to adapt and adjust the things that we did and could and couldn't do because we had kids now, right? And so it means that you're learning new ways to love the person as they evolve. And when we think about friendships, it's understanding that someone's life looks different now than it did when you first became friends, right? I have some amazing friends that I've had since high school. We had no cares, no worries in the world in high school. It was just like, girl, where we go? We going to the game tonight? Yeah, let's go to the game. What we doing? We're going to this party. We're doing that. No cares in the world. And now as adults, we're adulting. And so does it mean my friend doesn't love me because we can't go out every weekend? No. Because truth be told, I'm going no more, right? I mean, dinner. So, but other than that, your girl try to be in the bed at a decent hour, and it doesn't always happen, but I find myself falling asleep. And so it doesn't mean that your love's faded or that you don't still love the person, because now you can't spend every waking moment with each other. And then sometimes you realize that some relationships are just meant for a season, and that's okay too. Yes, you might have been friends since kindergarten. And maybe you're just not the same. Maybe you're just not good for each other in adulthood. Let's say it like that. In childhood, maybe that was the friend that you needed, and vice versa. And now in adulthood, you're learning like, yeah, not so much, right? That happens, and that's okay. So understand that it's okay. Now, you gotta think about if a relationship is still serving its purpose and going through a rough patch, that's something worth fighting for, because all relationships go through a rough patch, right? Friendship, all the ships that we talked about earlier, you're gonna go through times that are not the best. And so it's asking yourself, are we both fighting for the same thing? Right? And are we both aligned? Are we communicating? Are we talking? Are we loving each other? But if the relationship no longer aligns with the evolution of you, y'all, it's okay for you to reevaluate it and decide what's best for you in that situation. Like, is this something worth me fighting for? Or is it taking more of my capacity than I have to give? All right. And so, and one thing I also want to say is, let's talk about the thing that nobody ever wants to talk about in a relationship: conflict. Everybody was like, oh, that's the ugly parts of relationships, right? Y'all, we are going to have conflict. It's going to happen, right? And so when we think about it, when we think about conflict, it's not meant to be something that's wrong, right? But I've learned conflict, when handled right, allows you to have the conversations that are necessary for you to move forward, right? People are all the time. I'm not confrontational. I'm not confrontational either, but I'm definitely conversational. Did y'all hear that? I'm not confrontational. Nobody trying to argue and be back and forth, but we definitely need to have a conversation. I'm conversational all day, right? And so just because you need to have a conversation with someone doesn't mean it has to be confrontational. We need to have a conversation, and we can both sit down at the table or wherever as adults and talk through whatever the issue is. And so it's okay for you to have a conversation about a conflict that you've had. The problem is not disagreeing with someone. The problem is how you handle the disagreement. It's okay for you to disagree. It's okay for us to not be on the same page, but how we handle the disagreement is the important part. All right. And so when we think about conflict, healthy conflict seeks a resolution. Y'all, it's not about us trying to be right. Did you hear that? Did you hear what Coach Tocha said? It's about seeking a resolution so that we can move forward, not necessarily for us being right. I had a conversation with someone the other day and they were like, "You're right." And I'm like, it's not about me being right. I don't care if I'm right or not. What I am trying to do is get to the other side of this. I don't care about being right. I appreciate you saying I'm right. I'm just trying to get you to see something that you may not be seeing right now. Okay? So conflict, and it's when we have it, it's about us coming to a place of understanding, not about who's right or who's wrong, right? When it's unhealthy, it's the person just seeking to be right all the time. And then the second thing, healthy conflict is honest and respectful. Did y'all hear? Honest and respectful. You can be honest with someone in a loving, kind way. It does not have to be disrespectful. Unhealthy conflict is destructive because it's trying to tear the other person down. Well, you've always been like that. The little things that we say. Instead of, "Hey, I see you growing, and it's awesome. And here's an area I think, maybe we need to work on a little bit." Right? I love you, so I want to give you the opportunity to grow because this is the area.
That's such a powerful point, and it fits perfect.
Yo, I do not even know what is going on right now with this little thing keeps doing that. So when you think about it, it's not destructive or defensive, always on the defense. Well, you did this or you did that. Oh my gosh, me and my husband, we used to argue like that all the time. Well, you did this and you did that and you did this and you did that. We're not getting anywhere with that. We're going to stay right in this little hamster wheel, running around in circles, saying the same thing over and over and over again and never getting to a resolution because we're just trying to point the finger at what the other person did or did not do, right? So in conflict, it can be healthy, honest, and respectful, right? And healthy conflict leads to growth. I just said, give the other person the opportunity to grow if they choose to. And if not, cool. But you've at least given them the opportunity for them to grow if they want to, because you said, "Hey, let's have a little chat about this," right? Y'all, let me tell you something. Some of the best relationships in my life were strengthened because we had conversations that needed to be had. I remember there was this girl who I worked with. I did not particularly care for her. I just didn't. And she came up to me one day and said, "I feel like you don't like me." And I was like, "Truthfully, I don't." And she was like, and I said, "And I can tell you why. Here's why." And I gave her, and she said to me, "I don't think you like me." I was like, I don't. I'm going to be honest. And she was like, why? And so I told her the reasons why. And she went and told someone, I like that girl. And I was like, we became such great friends after that because we were able to talk through what I felt like she had said and or done. And she was able to come to me, well, this is what I felt. And we were able to talk through our issue and get on the other side of it. And we were that is like one of my really great friends to this day. Because we had a conversation. Was it easy? No, because I really legitimately looked at that girl and was like, I kind of don't. And I was like, what? I said it. I did. And we got on the other side of that. And I'm telling you, it strengthened my relationship with her so much because we were just able to talk through like, hey, girl, I don't really like you. We had the hard conversation. And so the truth was, we ultimately were just fighting against each other and not really the relationship because we didn't have one. And so when we were able to sit down and talk, it was kind of like, you know what, she's not that bad. She's kind of cool. Oh, you know what, I misinterpreted that. And so she was actually one of my godmom to one of my kids. So, and we worked together at the restaurant. It was kind of like, I'm going to stay on my side, you stay on yours, and we're good. But then when we were able to talk it out, it was like, oh, you know what? She actually is really cool, and vice versa. And so we became really good friends after that. So be willing to have the hard conversation with love and kindness because it has strengthened so many relationships in my life, being able to get through the conflict. All right. So this ain't Texas, ain't no hold 'em. No, I'm just kidding. How to learn when to hold them and when to fold them, or how to hold them and when to let it go. How do you know when it's time for you to let the relationship go? Letting go is hard and so necessary. Not every relationship is meant to last forever, y'all. And that's a difficult pill to swallow, especially when we're holding on to people out of comfort. We feel obligated, right? It's comfortable. It's what we know. We've known them forever. We don't like change. How many of us can raise our hands and say that? I don't like change. I would say that all the time. This is the way it is. I like these people. We're cool. We don't want to let go of change, right? We don't want to change. It's not easy. But even when we know, y'all, especially when we know that God is calling us to something else, we got to be willing to let go of. I think of the analogy, like if I hold my hands like this, can't get anything else in my hands because they're closed. They're fists. I could bite, I could swing, but I can't get, you're not going to be able to put anything in my hands like this. But when I choose to do this, they're open and I can receive anything. We've been like money in here. I can give a girl some money, a piece of paper, some flowers. My hands are open and I can receive something. Sometimes we're holding on to things and God has something so wonderful on this side, but we can't get it because we're holding on to what is instead of letting go to be, to move toward what it can become. Change isn't easy, but it's so necessary. So what do we do to hold on and what do we do to let go? When do we hold on and when do we let go? If the relationship is still growing and serving its purpose, hold it, y'all. It's worth fighting for. If that's the case, if it's still growing and maturing and you're learning each other and they're pouring into you and you're pouring into them and you're becoming better in the relationship, hold it. It's worth fighting for. And on the flip side of that, if the relationship is, every time you look down at the phone, if you're looking at it, it's draining, it's toxic, it's taking up a lot of your mental capacity, your emotional capacity, all of the things, y'all, it's time to let it go. If every time you see their name on the phone, you cringe and you're like, oh my gosh. If you feel like it's stopping you from getting where you're meant to be, it's time to let it go. It's time for you to evaluate if it's time for you to let it go. Yeah, if you're looking at the phone and you're cringing every time you see their name, y'all, it might be time. And let me say this, letting go does not mean you don't love them. Hear me when I say that. Letting go doesn't mean you don't love the person. It simply means that you're making room in your life for the next thing that you need. It isn't easy to let go, but when we don't, we put up a wedge and we block what the other things that we're meant to have. There's some other friend that's waiting to come into your life, but you're holding on to something that no longer is growing, that no longer is nurturing you, but it's draining you. That other person doesn't have space to move in. You're holding on to that friendship, that relationship, that whatever it is, and it's time for you to move on. That job, it happens so many times when we hold on to things when they're not meant to be there anymore. And so what do we do? Next, I want to talk about loving people well, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Loving people well, y'all, it ain't easy. Okay, I'm not going to sit here and say it is. It's not. Right? And sometimes it's especially hard when people are difficult. Okay? And some people test your patience. Your inner thought, and I'm just like, some people try you for the simple fact that they feel like they can. And sometimes the people you love the most hurt you the most because why? They're the closest to you. So it's easy. They have access, right? And so when we about loving people and loving them well, how do we do that? Understanding, we talked about the love language quiz, understanding their love language. What is it? Even in your friends, understanding their love language. You can ask your friend that. Like, what is your love language? Is it me giving you a hug randomly, right? Is it me showing up to your job with your favorite meal? Is it me just being a shoulder for you to lean and cry on when you need it, right? Because the truth is we don't all give and receive love in the same way. I'm a gift giver. I love giving gifts. I love receiving gifts. My sister, on the other hand, could care less. She's not a gift giver or a gift receiver. She's just like, I don't care if you don't give me nothing for your birthday, So we're two totally different polar opposites in that. I love gifts. Give me a gift. And it don't have to be anything extravagant. Give me a little candy bar and your girl is good with that, right? My sister is not moved by that. She don't care. And so, setting healthy boundaries. Forgiveness is about freeing you, not them. And so you forgive people to be free of whatever's holding you in bondage. But that does not mean they have full access to you after you're forgiven. People think, oh, I got to forgive them. Yes, you do. Absolutely, 100%. The Bible says forgiveness. But that does not mean access. They're different. I forgive you, but you no longer have access to what you had access to before. Friend did something wrong to you. You forgive them because it's for you to move on. You still, 20 years later, talking about that. Girl, let it go. Okay? Forgive them and move forward. That doesn't mean they have access to you, though. Hey, girl, I tell my daughter, some people need your hello and goodbye in the same sentence. Hey, y'all, bye, y'all. Hey, girl, bye, girl. All in one, right? So just because you forgive someone doesn't mean they get to have access to you. Forgive but use wisdom. The Bible says to be as wise as a serpent and as gentle as a dove. I'm going to forgive you, but I'm going to use wisdom in knowing where I'm going. I'm not going to give you complete and total access. Because when we're setting boundaries so that people no longer drain us. And we're not running around here pouring from empty all the time. Okay? And so it's okay for you to forgive for yourself and use wisdom. They don't get full access. You know how you go and they're temporary access? you get a job and you're in a building and your key card don't go to every door. It don't open. There's specific things based on your job, your role in the company. You get access to certain things. Coach Tasha is talking today. Are y'all listening? Just because they've come back into your life doesn't mean that they get to go to the penthouse at the top floor. It means they start from the bottom. Okay, you get access to this and this. And as they show up and show you that they are qualified, for more access, then you give it to them. Just because they come and they're like, oh, girl, let me be a BFF. No. This key will open this door and that door. You don't get to go to the third floor yet. But I know I'm a lover and I love people. And so I'm just like, come be my friend. Yes. And I've learned through the years that I have to use discernment and wisdom to say, yes, they seem like a really cool person. And I don't have to give them complete access to my life, right? And so people have situations where they're like, oh, I don't understand why they told. Well, if you would have let them stay only access to this door and that door, you would have seen that they talk about people. So what would make you any different? If they're always talking about someone, you're definitely going to be someone that they talk about eventually, right? And so it's learning that we give them time to show us that they deserve the access that we want to give them. Okay. All right. And y'all, I see this in my notes and I forgot. Love is a choice, y'all. And when we learn to love the way that God wants us to, we live in the overflow and the abundance of love. And that's a beautiful and wonderful thing. And then we can give love freely without expecting anything in return. Like, I don't expect my friends to love me like I love them, but I want them to love me the way I need to be loved, right? I give gifts. I'm a gift giver. I don't expect for them to give me gifts. I like giving gifts. I like to receive them, but they don't have to. But definitely being there when I need a shoulder or I need to bounce ideas off of someone, that to me means a lot. Like when I have a friend that I can call and say, hey, I'm dealing with this or going through this. I just want to share with you like what I kind of feel the answer is and get your thoughts on what you think needs to happen. And so that for me is 100% showing up in my life right now because I have so much going on. And I can dive down a rabbit hole on any given day. And so for me, even though I like to receive and give gifts, right now in my life, it's more important for me to be able to bounce ideas off of you. Be able to say, this is what I think I should do. What are your thoughts? Or this is kind of what I see in it. What do you see? That right now for me is way more important than getting a gift. And the people that love me understand that in my life right now. I'm like, hey, girl. You got a second? I need to talk this out loud. Because for me, sometimes the process is things that are in my head. I got to talk it out. I got to, because it's in there and I'm like, okay, this is what I think the answer is. So I have to talk it out. Y'all. So as we come to a close and an end on this wonderful, beautiful, awesome episode today, I hope this resonated with y'all, squad. I really do. I know it was a lot. So one of the things I want to close it with is remember, real love is not about perfection. It's about progression. And it's about how you progress with the other person and in the relationship. It's about being committed. It's about grace. It's about growth. And it's about being built on the foundation. And for me, that's God. And that is how love stands the test of time. I want God in the center of all my relationships, my business ships, whatever. And so, as we close today, if this episode resonated with you, y'all share it with somebody else that it will resonate with as well. Learning and understanding that to have a love that lasts is built on trust. It's built on conflict resolution. It's built on a whole lot of grace. and it's built on serving a purpose in your life. And if the relationship doesn't, you got to evaluate and look at it. It's important, y'all. Because when we're holding on to things that no longer serve us, we don't have room for the next thing that's supposed to come to us. And so, y'all, thank you so much for being a part of the squad. As always, your purpose connects to someone else, and they can't walk in theirs until you're walking in yours. Y'all, we are combat ready, fighting for the best version of ourselves every single day in relationships, love, life, and all the things. Thank you for being a part of the squad. We are here. I am cheering you on. I am right there fighting with you, y'all. Every day, I'm fighting to become better. And I hope you are too. Thank y'all so much for joining me on today's episode of The Squad. I will see y'all later. Bye.